I was driving through rural New Jersey when I saw him, a hitchhiker, standing by the side of the road, surprisingly well dressed, black suit, slicked back hair, and a narrow briefcase. Now, I know I shouldn't pick up hitchhikers, but I'm 6'4", 230 pounds, with all kinds of hunting equipment in the back of my truck. It's not like this prissy businessman is gonna beat me to death and leave me on the side of the road. Besides, I could use the gas money. "Hey man," I said, pulling over to the side of the road. "I'll give you a lift if you pay me for gas." "Of course," he said in a polite accent. He reached for his wallet and pulled out three $20 bills. "This enough?" I grinned. "That's way more than enough." I greedily snatched the money from him and clicked the locks. "Jump in, bud." He climbed in. His blue eyes shifted from the crumbled Wendy's wrapper on the dashboard to the mysterious sticky goo on the middle console. "Sorry the car's not clean. I'm actually going hunting," I said, turning back onto the highway. "Hunting? Interesting," he said, in a strangely enthusiastic tone. "Have you always liked to hunt?" "No, it's the funniest thing. Never thought I'd ever hunt. I love animals, got 3 dogs at home, but there are so many deer around these parts. When the winter comes, a lot of them starve to death, not to mention all the car accidents they cause." I trailed off, and we fell into an uncomfortable silence. "Just hunting for the day then?" "No, my buddy Matt and I will be out there for the whole weekend." He let out a laugh. "The whole weekend? Your wife's a saint for letting you go." "My wife? How did he?" But then my eyes fell on the steering wheel and the silver ring on my finger. "Ah, yeah, Mary's a doll. She's actually pregnant, 5 months with a little girl." He gave me a crooked smile. "A girl? Huh. Yeah." I could feel him staring at me long after we had fallen into silence. It made me feel uncomfortable, so I clicked on the radio. "How did you and Matt meet?" he asked, fiddling with the dial. All that came through was static. That's a weird question, I thought. He and Mary were close friends, so when we got married, I got to know him pretty well." "Mm-hmm," the man said. He stroked his chin thoughtfully, and I was suddenly reminded of a psychiatrist. "Are you a psychiatrist?" I blurted out. He laughed. "Definitely not. I work in finance." "What type of finance?" It was my turn to ask the questions now. "Futures," he replied, non-committally. I glanced over at him. A small smile was on his lips. I noticed his fingers had gravitated from his lap to the briefcase at his feet. My heart began to pound. Click. He undid the clasp. The case creaked open. "What's in your briefcase?" I asked. "Work." "What kind of?" His long fingers disappeared into the darkness of the case. He was pulling something out. My blood began to seize up. The steering wheel felt like ice under my fingers. "I have a lot of hunting equipment back there," I said, "so you better not be." I stopped. He was only pulling out a sheet of paper. For a few minutes, he was quiet, reading the paper, intently and silently, as if his life depended on it. His finger slid over it as they traced the text. Then he slipped it back into the case and snapped it shut. What was he reading? I thought. But before I could get my question out, he turned towards me. I could barely see his face in my peripheral vision, but I knew he was staring at me, for minutes on end. Then, he broke the silence. "Don't go hunting," he said, his ice blue eyes boring into me. "What?" "Turn the car around, go home to Mary." "What?" "She needs you." He paused. "Madeline needs you." I paled. I never told him we were going to name our baby Madeline. "How did you?" "He's going to make it look like an accident," he said, his voice gravelly and haunting. "Just a simple accident. The most punishment he'll endure is 35 minutes in the police station, writing out his statement." "But let me off at that diner up ahead. I like their Cobb salad very much." "Matt's going to kill me? What are you talking about?" He turned to me, eyes wide. "What are you talking about?" "About what you just said." "All I said was I'd like for you to drop me off at the diner, please." He pointed to the exit, curving off the highway. "You're going to miss it if you don't slow down." With a shaking hand, I clicked off my blinker, pulling off the exit into the parking lot. My heart pounded in time with the clicking of the cooling engine. "Thank you for the ride," he said, pulling his briefcase out with him. "Have a good drive, will you?" I couldn't squeak out a reply before the door slammed shut. I didn't believe him, but my nerves were too shot to continue my trip either. I texted Matt that I was sick, turned around, and went home to Mary. Mary was thrilled. Matt was disappointed. A little too disappointed, if you ask me. A month later, after ignoring most of Matt's calls and texts, which became increasingly frequent and desperate, I heard a faint thumping noise at the door. When I flicked on the porch light, there was Matt, hunched over our doorknob, holding a lockpick. We called the police. Since then, life has been great. Just a few months later, our wonderful little Madeline was born, and as soon as we got back from the hospital, on our doorstep was a little teddy bear, a pink bow sewed on its head. There wasn't a return address or a card of any kind, but I think I know who it was from.